Once upon a time, there was a Neanderthal man skinning an animal. He bit the hide tightly with his teeth, pulled it taut with one hand, and scraped it with a sharp stone in the other. Occasionally he slipped. The stone scraped his front teeth, leaving marks deep enough for scientists to detect after being buried for over 130,000 years in what is now Croatia, a country whose men's football team ranks 10th in the world. But why should we care about a prehistoric man from 130,000 years ago who scratched his teeth? Because those scratched teeth reveal why 90% of the world's population today is right-handed. The Neanderthals, full name Homo neanderthalensis, are our closest ancient relatives. Both our species share a common ancestor who lived around 500,000 years ago. But unlike us, the Neanderthals disappeared about 40,000 years ago. That hasn't stopped us from learning more and more about our long-lost relatives. One discovery is that they too seem to be mostly right-handed, just like us. But again, why should we care about handedness? Doesn't every species with two hands have a dominant one? No, seriously, do they? No. Today, besides humans, no other mammals show a clear preference for using one hand over the other. Not even chimpanzees, our distant relatives from 5 to 7 million years ago. Even among humans, there has never been any recorded population in history that was predominantly left-handed. So when did humans start being right-handed? And why the right hand? Estimates suggest 90% of the global population is right-handed, 10% is left-handed, and around 1% are ambidextrous, meaning they can use both hands equally well. Some people are functionally ambidextrous, using their left hand for some tasks and right hand for others. Like all vertebrates, your hands and mine are each controlled by one half of the brain. The left hemisphere controls the right side of the body and vice versa. The problem is, the human brain isn't a symmetrical product of Photoshop. It isn't perfectly balanced. One half isn't exactly like the other. This characteristic is called lateralization. Because of lateralized brains, animals can perform different functions simultaneously, controlled by different brain regions, like chewing grass while watching for predators. The issue is, compared to other animals, asymmetry and lateralization are especially prominent in the human brain. This seems to be a major reason why our species prefers one hand over the other. Specifically, in most people, the left hemisphere controls speech, and the brain seems to reason that it works best when important, complex tasks are divided between the two halves. Speech is a super complex task involving precise coordination of over 100 muscles, including the vocal cords, facial muscles, and breathing muscles, so you don't blurt things out without thinking, or lose a tooth from talking too fast. That's why the brain reasons that the same side controlling speech should also handle complex hand movements. Since speech is on the left side, the dominant hand is usually the right. Sound convincing? If yes, give us a like. One thing's for sure, humans have been right-handed long before lonely singles today made it a nightly habit. You're now looking at an ancient artwork called the Hand Cave in Santa Cruz Province, Argentina. It was painted by many people over a period stretching from 7300 BC to 700 AD. Early artists likely placed one hand on the wall and blew pigment over it to create hand outlines. And if you sit and count, most of the hands are left hands, suggesting the artists were right-handed. Or maybe they just like joking with their descendants. This isn't an isolated case. Archaeologists have found countless ancient cave paintings, about 10,000 years old, depicting prehistoric life in hunting scenes where weapons are held in the right hand. Right-handedness doesn't only show up in art, it's visible in our bones. X-rays show the dominant arm of tennis players is 20% denser and contains more bone minerals than the other. This feature is also seen in Neanderthal skeletons, though less clearly, since back in 130,000 BC Croatia, tennis wasn't really a thing. It's difficult to pinpoint exactly when humans or our ancestors became right-handed, because this kind of evidence relies on fossils, which degrade over time. But we can make guesses based on behaviors related to handedness. From the direction of tiny scratches on the Neanderthals' teeth, scientists infer that early humans may have used their teeth as a third hand for a long time. Imagine our Neanderthal uncle biting into a hide, pulling it tight with his left hand, and scraping it with a sharp stone in his right. Using the right hand means scraping from left to right. Sometimes he slipped and the stone scratched the tooth from the upper left to the lower right. We know this because if he'd used his left hand, the scratches would go from right to left. Similar scratch patterns dating back 500,000 years have been found in the teeth of Homo heidelbergensis, our shared ancestor with Neanderthals. Even teeth from Homo habilis in Tanzania, 1.8 million years ago, show similar marks. Of course, a few scratched teeth don't prove all Homo habilis were right-handed, but it does suggest right-handedness is a very old inherited trait. This is why scientists tried to find the right-handed gene. Turns out, handedness is heritable. Men are more likely to be left-handed than women. Unfortunately, no single-handedness gene was found. Instead, there are at least 40 genetic loci involved in determining handedness. Still unsatisfied, scientists returned to brain lateralization. Brain scans revealed a region in the left hemisphere called BA44, crucial for manipulating objects including making and using tools. This suggests our preference for the right hand may have originated from tool-making millions of years ago. Some animals that walk on two legs, like kangaroos, also have a dominant hand. So maybe handedness relates to bipedal movement? Possibly. Even more interesting, kangaroos are mostly left-handed and don't use tools. So maybe species that walk upright tend to have one dominant hand, and species that use tools tend to prefer the right hand. I'm not sure. What do you think? Comment below. But wait, if right-handedness is so dominant, why are 10% of people still left-handed? Putting everything together, it seems right-handedness started with stone tools, so left-handedness may have been a later mutation. And since that mutation still exists, it must provide some evolutionary advantage. And it does. Brain scans show left-handed people, or those not strongly right-handed, tend to have more symmetrical brains. A more balanced brain processes information more evenly, boosting memory and language skills. Also, studies show left-handed people punch better. Seriously, since most people are right-handed, they're used to defending against right-hand punches. So when a lefty punches from the opposite direction, it's unexpected. A 2019 study even showed left-handed fighters win more often. Back in the days when problems were solved with rocks and fists, this was clearly a survival advantage. It also explains why lefties are rare. If too many existed, the advantage would vanish. How about you? Are you right or left-handed? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like it for more evolution-related content. Subscribe and hit the bell. Goodbye, and see you next time.